Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we're back to Agatha Christie, the ABC murders. In the last recording, we were given an odd option whether to call a potential victim ourselves or have the police Jap call. I really didn't think anything of it and had Jap call, and apparently we were supposed to realize that the person that Jap was calling had a heart condition, and thus Jap gave him a heart attack. It'd be very weird if the game took the twist that had I called, we wouldn't have had that heart attack occur. Um, we're getting towards the end of the game, 81% of the way done. And so now we are going to, before we deal with the potential fourth victim who was saved from being murdered because we figured out who the ABC killer is, although it does look like the ABC killer may just be a puppet for the seductress lady. So we're now going to go into his house and investigate. Once again, we have what can only really be described as a falsehood here, in that the game is trying to make it seem like it's an open world point and click adventure game when really it isn't, and it really should have just been more linear. There's really no reason to be out uh, on this street. They're also doing an odd angle. We've noticed
I've
some
been
odd.
going past this modest guest house for so long. I would never have thought that the ABC case would lead me here.
So apparently, Poirot has been driving past this whole place quite a bit. Yeah, there's probably nothing really to observe. These random people on the streets are extra and kind of unnecessary. You could have easily said, let's eliminate all the extra people and all the animations we have to do for these extra people of them standing around and just have the main characters more animated, or this car a little bit better animated, the way it's awkwardly vibrating. Although you don't really need the car either. We never needed to see the taxi. We never needed to see the entrance to specific places. The game could have easily just faded out and faded in.
Marbury. There is a very pretty village by this name, in Cheshire.
Yeah, there's nothing to do here. And I seriously doubt we ever are going to be able to go back to previous locations and maybe catch some achievements we missed. So I think we'll probably just end the game. And if I had wanted all the achievements, my only hope here is that I get all of the achievements that are fairly difficult, which would include just like doing all the puzzles and all the interrogations and all the riddles and everything. And perhaps then a new game or a new game plus would let me just choose all the wrong answers. But I kind of suspect that's not how this really is going to play out. Yeah, we once again have an example of just kind of unique
It is a
camera
very
angles.
beautiful piano. Maybe Mrs. Marbury likes to play in her free time.
And see, I don't know if the abundance of musical instruments is because Poirot is noticing the musical instruments, or if just Agatha Christie liked to include musical instruments. It really doesn't probably matter or connect to the story. I imagine during this time frame, everybody had some level of musicality to them, whether it was singing a cappella in a church or having a Victrola or a music box or something like that. Radio, maybe even.
It looks like I've found the real master of this house.
So, this looks like a real picture of a cat that's just been slightly traced over. And that's supposed to be a cork on the end of the string.
There is no need to worry about the household cat. I'm sure that Mrs. Marbury lets it do what it pleases.
See, that would feel like that would have been an achievement. if it was going to be anything, but I guess not. So.
How do you do? You must be Mr. Hercule Poirot. Chief Inspector Jupp told me that you might be coming.
Interesting. She's like cooking on the, or peeling potatoes. You know what? Maybe I'm getting more in line with Poirot, but I think I'd get annoyed seeing her peel potatoes. Either she's not doing it right or she's doing it in the wrong place.
I do not think that this is the right time to be peeling potatoes.
My lodgers have got to eat.
But you are contravening health regulations.
Well, it's not as serious as killing someone. I just wanted to help you.
Interesting. So either I got the totally wrong
but he
answer,
so harmless.
and then
yes,
you have this sharp switch
but even then,
in
he wasn't
demeanor.
And he was as gentle as a lamb again immediately afterwards. It was only this morning that I understood. He told me he was going to Cheltenham, but my daughter saw him at Euston Station. It's not the right station. To get to Cheltenham, you have to take the train from Paddington. And what's more, Mr. Cuss left behind an ABC with Doncaster underlined. But when I see how I'm being treated, I wonder if I was right.
Interesting. I guess we should go the other direction because that...
Well done. You were right. He did go
to
Doncaster.
That was wrong.
So I was right to warn the police.
Tell me, did you have any other reason to suspect Mr. Cust?
Well, he's odd. Sometimes he coughs really loudly and complains that his throat is burning, and sometimes he talks to himself and stares into space. He told me that it was because of a wound he got in the war. His head hasn't been quite right since, he said. And then he was in Churston when that millionaire got murdered. I found his train ticket when I washed his coat. He didn't want me to wash his shirt. He washed it himself. But I did see big brown stains on it.
I guess maybe the suspicion might be that the seductress, through medical records, found out that Kirst was susceptible to being manipulated, and thus she manipulated him into becoming a murderer.
Do you think it was blood?
Well, when I saw them, I thought, look, he spilled his wine or his soup all over himself. But now that I think about it, well, they did look like blood.
Cust used to travel for his work. Is that correct?
Oh, it wasn't for pleasure.
See, we're zooming in every time we seem to get it right.
But he had to sell his stockings around England.
An
I
odd
had to respect
system.
my engagements, he used to say.
Do you know
It
where
feels
Cust
like
was at the time of the murder in Andover and
there
Betsy?
should just
On
be
June the
a
21st
bar
and
that
July the
fills up
25th.
every time you
No,
get it correct.
I don't know.
That tells you,
That was a
shows
while
you
ago,
how
you
many
know.
ego points you're
surely you
going to
keep a
get at
register.
the end.
It won't do you much good.
Yeah.
Mr. Cuss rents his room for the year. If he goes away for a few days, I have no reason to make a note of it. I remember one thing. Bexer's by the sea, right?
Yeah, you could have easily
Indeed. It is a
not
large seaside
animated one
resort.
random
Well,
stranger
as it happens, at the start
and had
of July,
that
Mr.
animator
Cust
make
asked me to
a
repair his bathing
bar
dress.
that filled up with ego
Suspicious, huh?
points and just always told you.
Very interesting.
Every
Please
time
continue.
I get into one of
I
these
also forgot to say
interviews,
that he
though,
started
I
buying
kind of
newspapers
lose
that talked about
attention.
the case.
And this is like the most important thing.
When did he start buying the newspapers?
Like,
Let's see.
clearly this should be the
I think it was
most
just after
focused
the millionaire's
part
murder in
of the
Churston.
story.
He didn't seem all that interested before that.
And yet,
That will be all for now. I'm going to take a look at his room.
I get
Take the key
distracted
on the counter.
playing the minigame when I really should just be seeing a cutscene. Yeah, it would make just more sense to have every interaction simply be a
I don't think my register will help you. Mr. Cuss rents his room all year. If he goes away for a few days, I have no reason to make a note of it.
so you get the same prompt. No, the
The
note.
truth is becoming apparent, and I have something to say to Mrs. Marbury.
Maybe there's someone else that rents a room. What was apparent there is the question.
I have something to say to Mrs. Marbury.
What do you have something to say, though? Seems like a weird point to reach where it's like, oh, we actually need to question her again after just looking at the registrar. I mean, we can't just use this on this door. And you can see how this awkward engine is making it fairly difficult for me to just click on her and talk to her. Because I guess I was supposed to...
This woman appears to be in a good mood.
Smooth movements. Smile on the face. Relaxed posture.
Mrs. Marbury is in a good mood. She's working very precisely in producing incredibly thin peel.
So maybe I was supposed to observe her first.
If I am to believe the register, you rented room 306 to a certain Mr. Fishman on the day of the Bexhill murder. Room 306 is Cust's room. Can you explain yourself?
Yes, I remember. Just for one night as a favor. Mr. Cust was away, all my other rooms were taken, and poor Mr. Fishman had nowhere to go.
So she double rented the room. Do we indicate it's illegal? Is Poirot concerned with that? I don't know.
You rented the same room to two people. Very profitable, but quite illegal.
But I didn't harm anyone. I was only helping everybody out.
And see, that gave me 3 ego points. Was that the maximum ego points I could have gotten for that? Like, you just never know. Which once again highlights that if there was just a bar here that filled up that said, in this room there are this many ego points to be collected, you've collected this many so far, even if it wasn't here in the inventory, because maybe somebody wouldn't want to see it, putting it here in the pause screen or in its own submenu somewhere would have been fine. Like, it's frustrating to be left wondering. And see, there's an example of just fading to black and fading into the room. No reason to show walking up the stairs or walking through a hallway or anything like that. We'll get the Poirot points and the ego points for... It's a little funny, they don't call them Poirot points actually. And so...
Laudanum Cameron's Chemists. Laudanum, a medicine for coughs. It is what Dr. Clark prescribed for Mrs. Asher. This subject would probably be useful to me.
So we're just keeping the laudanum.
Diethyl barbituric acid, Johnson Company. I know this medicine. It is a powerful sedative. This subject would probably be useful to me.
Seems to me like he never used the sedative to murder anybody, though. I don't recall any story of anybody being particularly asleep, and that's why they didn't see the murderer either.
ABC guys, enough to sign about 12 murders.
Which is crazy because you would need 24, wouldn't you? I see 6, maybe 9. You would need 23.
It's closed. ABC guy.
Well, what's the other observation here? We're supposed to use the key to open it?
It's closed.
Apparently we need to find a knife to open the box. Isn't it fairly questionable that you would
All the
have
main
that many
articles referring
ABC
to the
guides?
ABC case are here.
Anyways.
From the Churston murder onwards. Nothing before that date.
Which might be a case that the murderer actually was the seductress for the first two murders, and only for the third murder was it cursed.
Most probably the basting dress repaired by Mrs. Marbury's expert hands.
I'm just clicking through all of this, I suppose.
Trousers, white shirts. Everything has been washed very well. The Bexhill Daily paper, dated from the day of the Bexhill murder. War of 1914-1918. By the King's order, the name of Corporal A.B. Cust, Devonshire Regiment, was published on the London Gazette on May the 10th, 1918, as mentioned in a dispatch for gallant and distinguished service.
So he wasn't dishonorably discharged.
Wounded on the Somme front, victim of a gas attack, Corporal Cust greatly deserves his distinction.
Here we've got the typewriter, which almost certainly we are going to then do a test there.
It's an ABC.
This knife looks like just a common
long-bladed
knife.
knife. A murderer's weapon. This object would probably be useful to me.
It does kind of feel like this is setting us up for just a
Did Cust drop it when he opened the window?
scene.
Or was it Mrs. Marbury while she was cleaning?
Where we're going to get kidnapped and tied up and we're going to have to...
Cust is parsimonious. He keeps his pencils and sharpens them until there is nothing left. It is clear that he did not grow up in luxury.
See what's in the drawers.
How hopeful. This place is a real mess.
Apparently I just triggered something else.
The least we can say that Mr. Cust is not very concerned about order and balance.
Yeah, which that really does not fill in line with what the ABC killer's MO feels like.
John Milligan, Managing Director, Silky Legs, Frederick Street, Leicester. To A.B. Cust, Marbury's Guest House, 1935, May the 21st. Dear Sir, further to our letters dated 5th and 10th of the month, we confirm we are you as door-to-door salesman, according to the conditions stated in our previous letters. We will send you the articles by mail and also a Redfield typewriter you will be using for every business letter. Regarding the schedule of your rounds, please do as following. June 21, Andover. Arrive by train the 20th in the evening and get a room at Station Hotel. Start your turn in the north part of the town.
Interesting.
This letter establishes that Cust went to Andover, but the ink has hidden the destinations of his other trips. I know from Mrs. Marbury that he went to Churston. I just have to show that he went to Bexhill, and I will have proved that he was present at all the crime scenes.
It'd be kind of funny if he wasn't in Bexhill, and the second lady being murdered was the real target.
I have to get the ribbon. How am I going to do it?
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of those murder mysteries where everybody did it, and so, like, Donald perhaps killed the second victim, and the seductress killed the third victim, and the husband killed the first victim, or all three of them worked together to cheat the system. Okay. Here you have Poirot being mentioned.
Something is blocking the ribbon.
Alright, so if I can recall how typewriters used to work, it's kind of crazy you'd get a typewriter with a job too, like super expensive.
The ribbon is jammed. I have to start by freeing it.
Let's see. Should be a kind of release lever somewhere here, but there's clearly a lot of stuff that's missing. It doesn't look like there's any buttons. So what if we were to turn it the other way and give more slack? No, that doesn't seem to work.
The right-hand reel has been removed.
Oh, this is interesting. I've never worked with one where the ribbons weren't connected in a plastic reel, but I guess that would make sense for this time frame.
The left-hand reel has been removed.
Yeah, this is very low polygon of it, of a style, and not really representative of what you would probably really do. There we go.
And here is the ribbon. Let us see if it was indeed used to write the letters sent by ABC.
The typewriters I've seen have pieces of metal that would...
I only need the ink ribbon for my inquiry. I will let Jack clean the keyboard if he wishes.
Like, it is... usually there's a couple pieces of metal that you would wrap the ribbon around to hold it very taut before the striking hammers.
All the letters announcing the murders were written on Cust's typewriter.
Wow. All I had to do is toggle it a little bit. Interesting. So let's look at the bed.
The least we can say that Mr. Cust is not very concerned about
Get a
order and
different
balance.
camera angle for no good reason. That camera angle makes it feel like someone was going to jump out of the behind the cabinet or something. And that's not really the case. Alright, we'll use the knife to open this box.
This knife is very useful. Who knows? Maybe it never cut anything other than string. Stockings.
And we've taken not really any note of the stockings before this point. So
Stockings.
And even now he takes real note from the stockings. He just says stockings. He doesn't say the brand, the color, the style, anything like that. Which I think this once again highlights where if Poirot had a perky secretary or something, she could at least from the feminine perspective give a different perspective, whereas I feel like Hastings and Poirot are pretty much just two old white guys, so, or two old European guys, and so they kind of have the same perspective, and I don't think Hastings adds much. So we are still supposed to be searching his room. See, where was Cust at the time of the Bexel murder? Let's see, the Bexel local paper dating the day of the body's murder was found in Cust's room, so he must have been in Bexel. And it was rented out to someone else, which means we have evidence that he was not at his own place.
The register shows that Cust did not sleep at the guest house on the day of the murder. Where was he? Bexhill. The Bexhill paper reveals it. Cust bought this newspaper in Bexhill on July the 25th.
And that gave us 5 ego points instead of 10. But we're still I think supposed to be searching his room, which once again, this makes it feel like it is a hidden object search. I think I'll probably just end up having to use a clue again. Not because I fairly actually need it, but because there's just no... I just have no idea where I'm supposed to go. Oh,
This
blood
dark
on the
stain.
floor.
It could be blood, but goodness knows how long it has been there. No use continuing the inspection of this room. I've seen all there is to see.
It would really suck if you had to beat the whole game without using a clue. It'd be probably better to get an achievement for using a clue a few times. Yep. So you were supposed to see this tiny little black spot and know that that was what you were supposed to click on compared to every single other nail spot that is repeated on this floor. If you were going to do that, you needed to have put a bright white carpet, not here, which would be kind of the logical place for it, but under the sink. So take your pick. Either put the blood stain on the bright white carpet here, or you scale up the bright white carpet to take the full length of the room and have a blood stain under the sink. Or you put the blood stain on the sheet or something like that. Or you put a white handkerchief with blood on it. But it's completely unfair for that to have been done that way. And again, we have no clue if we've done everything in that room or if there's something later
Goodbye,
we need
Mrs.
to go
Marbury.
back to.
Thank you for your help.
Seems odd that there
Bye.
was the whole cat side quest in there.
Ah, Chief Inspector. I was about
the
to
cat
leave.
never showed up. I
Good
guess they
evening,
didn't bother
Chief
to
Inspector.
animate it.
Welcome. Please excuse me, I must go to the kitchen. I'll leave the key of Mr. Cust on the counter.
And see,
I'm
that
sorry
feels
I'm late. I've spent ages with the
awkward
Doncaster
as she
police.
slowly turns,
you?
like,
I
and
have
carries the
established one
potatoes,
fact.
which was not
On 3
needed to be
occasions,
animated.
Cust was at the scene on the day of the crimes.
Okay. So. Think we're supposed to talk to Jap, but it does seem like we can also wander around if we wanted to. No real reason. There's seemingly nothing here that you can do. Let's just awkwardly get close to him and see if we can get the engine to actually work. Like, this is one of those scenarios where you're supposed to be able Am I supposed to be giving something to him? So let's just go observe something.
There is no
again.
need to worry about the household cat. I'm sure that Mrs. Marbury lets it do what it pleases.
Yeah, we had already kind of observed these in case they were needed to be observed. And now it works. So we had
I
to
had
jump
best
out
talk to Jap.
and then jump back in to get it to work. This is
I've
far
listened
too
closely
buggy
to what
for
you
a
have to say,
point-and-click
Poirot.
adventure game.
For me, there's no doubt Cust is guilty. Do you have any element that might prove the contrary?
That is what we're going to look for.
Why?
Let us now try and get our brain cells to work.
Is Cuss guilty? Was it possible for Cuss to have killed the 3 victims? Cuss was in Charleston during the St. Sir Clark's Murders. See, this was Sir Clark. There's an Andover. What's the third part? Oh, what would be funny is if the fact that we saw no blood in any of the murders, that he would have coughed up, exonerates him. Cust was in all of the towns, although in the UK that's probably not that hard to ride the rails and get from town to town. Are there any common points between Cust and the killer? Let's see. He suffers this. But we don't. No, that's not what we're looking for. The typewriter, the ABC books, and maybe the blood on them, no. Lying about his destination, no. Newspapers, no. Knife, yes. He could have committed the crimes. Is Cust's behavior suspicious? Yes. Yes. And yes. And I guess that just leads to guilty.
The evidence against Cust is overwhelming. His presence at the scenes, the knife, the bloodstained shirt.
What would be funny here is
ABCs in a
if
box.
the book actually does end this way, and
However,
that just
the blood
irritated
Mrs.
the
Marbury saw on
readers.
Cust's shirt
and
may have been his own.
Maybe there was a sequel
According to his
book
medical records, he suffers
or a
from
sequel
hemoptysis.
game that should come out.
The
for this.
murderer cuts a Carmichael's throat from behind, and the blood spurted outwards. You would expect the murderer's shirt to be stained on the sleeves, not on the buttonholes. Yet we see quite the opposite. You would expect the murderer to keep the newspaper articles about his crimes. But Cust's collection starts in Cheston, as if it discovered the case rather late.
I agree it's troubling, but it doesn't change my mind. There's small details that we should be able to clear up by questioning Cust.
When can you talk to him?
Doncaster
It
is sending him
seems
to us
like
on
we're
first
gonna
train.
do a final
Are they questioning him
interrogation.
already?
He says he can't remember a thing.
It's plausible. Doctors say he suffers from absences and amnesia. Mrs. Marbury has confirmed this.
He may have done the murders in an altered state.
A familiar situation.
It's not enough to clear his name. Dr. Thompson insisted that even if you don't know what you're doing, you never commit a murder without wanting to.
Très intéressant. I shall remember that.
Right. I'll go and examine the suspect's room.
Chief Inspector, I took the liberty of removing a few clues to examinatum.
All right, we'll discuss them tomorrow. In the meantime, I'm going to see if you've missed something.
So definitely no chain of evidence or preservation of evidence in these times. Which honestly, modern good police investigation probably would ruin writing a modern mystery story. Yep. You could have skipped out on the woman walking in the foreground so that you could have animated the cat if the cat mattered, or you could have just not mentioned the cat, which probably would have been smarter. Again, no reason
Just
for
confirm the
this
hour,
room.
please.
No reason whatsoever to be outside and then having to use the interesting. And so we've just jumped into the interview, which I think that was what we were supposed to do. I mean, it didn't really seem like there could have been any other real options. Let's see. The question really would come down to how would the seductress have managed to knock him out, use his typewriter, and then leave him looking so guilty without his cooperation. That just seems unlikely. Even if it was Mrs. Fishman or Mr. Fishman, whoever, that rented the room out that one day, and that was the one day that all the letters had been typed. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense either. So he has to be guilty of at least some of the crimes. Alright, so as it seems, we can play kind of bad cop here and walk back and forth. Walk around him just to make him nervous. Otherwise, it seems like we're going to be able to observe him and then talk to him, and that's it.
This man is not in good shape.
Shaking hands. It'd make more sense if Donald was forcing him to do the murders.
He is worried and very tired, and other police have been hard on him.
It's one of those rare occasions where you have a character that's just shown with terrible balding too in a video game, whereas Poirot's hair looks excellent. Well, can we observe?
I am not going to leave before having finished questioning him.
Thought he was going to look at himself there. Yeah.
What do you want from me?
See, if L.A. Noire had just been one murder mystery, I suppose this would be the equivalent of the number of people you talk to. We have interviewed, I'd roughly guess about 8 or 9 different people, and having 8 or 9 actors do a few hours of face scanning or full motion video recording would have made a lot more sense than L.A. Noire just constantly giving you more and more missions with more and more people. It probably would have been a better idea if a game like L.A. Noire had been a very small scope game instead of trying to be something like a new GTA. And I don't know how they thought adding so many GTA elements to L.A. Noire was going to end up with that becoming a long-running series. They couldn't even make a single sequel around it. It would have probably made a lot of sense for there to have been a New York noir sequel set in New York, or a Chicago noir, just doing several different cities, or LA noir too. Let's see. Ask who he is. Ask if he knows who's speaking to him. Present yourself. And it still seems very weird we get these 3 dialogue choices. Like, clearly at some point they expected you to have 4 dialogue choices, and either I have played the game so poorly that I've never unlocked the 4th dialogue choice, or there's maybe a new game plus where you can play as Poirot with special knowledge of being able to ask the perfect question already. Otherwise, it just doesn't make any sense that this wouldn't just be down in one row, or at least in a triangle format.
Are you Alexander Bonaparte Cust?
So? You find my name ridiculous, is that it?
That got me 1 ego point, so that
I am
probably was
Hercule
wrong.
Poirot, and I want nothing other than the truth.
Ah, you're the detective.
So he didn't apparently even recognize him by face, and yet theoretically he wrote these letters to Poirot. That's somewhat believable, but a little weird.
Yes, I am the person you have been sending the letters to.
I didn't write these letters. I've already said so.
Interesting. Get him to admit he's forgotten, acknowledge his innocence. Are we supposed to be good cop or bad cop? Which way does Poirot go? I think his ego would mean you'd probably go bad cop.
Maybe you
But I've
forgot that you
made
wrote these letters.
a bunch of
Yes,
mistakes
it's true.
doing that.
Sometimes I forget. Maybe I did type them.
Maybe he didn't type them and someone has switched the entire typewriter on him. Accuse him of being a killing, ask if he's capable of killing, admit you do not believe he is a murderer. Well, asking if he's capable seems logical. Being in the military, he should be able to say yes to that easily.
Are you capable of murder, Mr. Cust?
Well, if you say murder.
All these questions are giving me a headache.
Let's see. Get him to talk about the army. Insist on the fact that he enjoyed the war. I don't know why you would even assume that.
You suffered during the war.
It's true. I was wounded. I suffered.
You get these very
but
crazy swings on the responses.
the army was the only place I didn't feel inferior. No questions. Just orders to follow.
So
But
that personality
Ever since you were wounded,
might
you have absences,
indicate
bouts of amnesia.
why he
And
would follow
headaches.
other people's instructions.
Professor Clark treated you.
Yes, a few years ago he really helped me with my burned throat.
Let's see. Get him to believe he is innocent. Accuse him of the 3 murders. Accuse him of Dr. Clark's murder. And let's just go wild here.
Of course, you never considered killing a doctor who took such good care of you.
No, never.
Interesting that was the right response, and zooms in. Yeah, I pretty much would have to play this whole game a second time just because I didn't even recognize for at least 70% of this game that the zooming in was the indication that you were interviewing correctly. It is such a subtle feedback where it would make a lot more sense just to have Pro go, darn, I messed up, or that was excellent questioning on my part. Just something short as far as a sound he would make to indicate good, even if it was just like a positive ding and a negative bell.
Do you deny being at the scene of the crimes?
So? There was no harm in being there. It was only for my work.
And see, that zoomed out. So I wonder if there's a case here where let's see, can we manipulate the sedative?
I know this medicine. It is a powerful sedative.
So it seems to me we can't mix the two. So let's just give him the laudanum.
Take this. It will help you.
It'd be funny if this was poison and he died.
Thank you.
Yeah, and here you can hear the sound effect of him coughing as he's talking.
Oh, good God, my shirt is covered in blood again.
Bon. I now know where the bloodstains Mrs. Marbury saw came from. Are you
Lips
well
not
enough to
moving.
speak?
Like,
Yes, I feel much better.
I guess he was thinking in his head. Yeah, just like a positive. Did witnesses see him in 3 towns? Let's do that.
You were seen at all the crime scenes.
Yes, I was. I travel a lot, but not for pleasure. I am terribly unwell in trains.
I
But
wonder
I had to respect my engagements. My
if
employer gave
maybe
me very
his
precise written
employer.
instructions about the towns I had to visit.
Ooh, yeah.
Let's see. The company you claim to work for, Silky Legs, has never heard of you. And as for these letters they sent you, they were written on your own typewriter.
The company sent me the typewriter when I started working for them.
Yep, it's
Yes,
the
but the letters were
seductress
received afterwards.
has written all the letters to start with. This was all about the third victim to begin with. And so she is trying to frame Cursed, who seems like a completely innocent man. Like he didn't murder anyone. Which, for my personal taste, and this probably is more of an opinion than anything, I don't see the reason why the game even introduced him as a potential person of interest before Poirot knew who he was and investigated him. Like, we did have this whole image of him, and the game basically made it look like they were telling you who the murderer was. But yeah, it definitely seems like it's the seductress.
So it would appear that you typed them before sending them to yourself.
I don't remember. Good God! I don't know what's happening to me. My head hurts terribly.
There's kind of no way that Donald Fraser could have pulled this off. He could be working with the seductress, but I don't think so. It has to be the secretary. Alright, well, let's see what happens if we show him this. Nothing. Let's see what happens if we give him the sedative.
Take this. It will help you.
Powerful sedative is more than likely going to make him fall asleep, and certainly it would make any testimony fairly questionable.
I think I'll be fine.
Let us see, Cust. Look at me. You know very well that you committed these murders?
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
But I'm not wrong in saying that you do not know why you committed them.
No, I don't.
The thing that I think Poirot is dropping the ball here, and it would be lovely in any murder mystery to be able just to ask your own questions and outthink the game, but it never really lets you do that. We're also getting a ridiculous amount of achievements. Still, we are up to, I think, about 38 of 50, so it does seem like by the time all is said and done, I am going to have maybe 3 to 8 missing achievements, which is enough to potentially make you want to go back and play the game a second time. But yeah, the thing I would have wanted to ask him about here is, how do you feel about people who cheat on their significant others, their spouses, their future husbands, their wives? If he can tell you, if he can have a conversation about that without flying into a rage, he's not the killer. If he says, I have no interest whatsoever, adults are free to do whatever they want with each other, that's fine. If he says, I've never even thought about it that much, that's fine. Like, because clearly all of the victims were cheating on somebody, except for Sir Carmichael, who, well, he was also kind of cheating with the seductress. So, yeah. Why the subterfuge, if it is the seductress, why did she need to kill 2 other people first, instead of just framing this guy with being the murderer of his doctor? Yeah, that doesn't fully make sense at all. This guy's 40 years old, where other people are about different ages. Why would she need to kill Carmichael at all unless she knew she was going to get fired by the dying wife? Which I guess is the reason, but then why did she need to kill the A? Alice Asher. She seems to have basically just been picked because her name starts with A and she's in Andover. Which, that seems like kind of a silly reason to do things. Except for the fact that her building may have been, her tobacco shop may have been under the lease of Betty Barnard's husband-to-be's company that he worked for. But then why would Betty Barnard need to be killed? And frankly, why would she have been on the beach and strangled if it was the seductress alone who did it? Seems more like what is likely to have been the case is that Betty Barnard was killed by possibly her husband, or to be, because he was being forced by the seductress. And maybe all these murders are really just to cover up a theft, a larger theft that we haven't uncovered. But then Dick Dunbar. Is there a reason why the seductress would want to kill Dick Dunbar? If he owns the Black Swan Hotel, that's questionable too. Apparently we're supposed to talk to Jap now.
Let us leave Cust alone. He's at the end of his tether.
And? What conclusions have you drawn?
Plenty. It might help us to understand him a little better.
Yeah, we still don't really know the reason behind this.
Let us now try and get our brain cells to work.
And I could be certainly going in the wrong direction. I guess we have hit the point, though, where you can't really get any more pieces of evidence. There's only enough room here for 10, which theoretically, the way this has been animated so far, there could only be, at most, either 10 single options to pick, or more likely three options and one single option as the leftover clue that reveals how everything else has been wrong. Which that would be the entertaining twist here, is when Poirot has to admit in his egotistical manner that he was wrong this whole time. Let's see. What do we know about his health? Let's see. Problem with his throat. And he has absences, basically blacks out and doesn't remember things. Are there any clues that do not support guilt in the Charleston murder? He had blood on him. You'd expect him to keep newspaper of all of his crimes? The idea of him murdering Sir Carmichael and not getting any blood on him, then him later coughing on himself, makes sense. He had no reason to kill him. Yeah, the fact that he doesn't recognize Poirot also seems very odd. They had stains on the buttonholes, which I don't know if that really means anything. Does not support. Said he did not read the letters, and he does not recognize Poirot. Again, if you're not 100% sure on this, and these are fairly obscure things, they're still using background images from the first chapter of the game, basically. You're gonna just have to brute force this. There's no reason to kill him. No. Blood on him doesn't seem right. That seems like that might be the case. So, that might be right. That might be right. That might be right. So this one's probably wrong. So let's get rid of that one. We'll just brute force it. Once before we've seen how this works. You'd expect a murder shirt to be stained on the sleeves. Interesting. So that choice had more with what Poirot had already said, more to do with what Poirot had already deduced, than the idea of deducing something new, or any clues that do not support Cust's guilt. Again, it's asking the same question, but apparently it wants a different answer. Let's see. And so we're just gonna keep on brute forcing on him. Yep. There's several details which show Cust is not guilty. And so I guess we are now establishing the case that no, actually he is innocent. Can we say without a shadow of a doubt that Cust is guilty? I don't think so. And those were the last two options. And that brings us to not guilty after finding him guilty.
I don't see any clearer than before. This is worse.
There is one point to highlight. C'est curieux. Cust admits that he killed, but he does not know why. What did Dr. Thompson say? Even if Cust killed while in an altered state, it still must have been his deepest desire. He must have had a motive.
Let's keep it simple. Never mind his motive. He confessed.
But you see, he can confess to anything and everything. He denied the murders and then confessed to them. He confirmed that he never typed the letters. Then, with great ease, I managed to get him say quite the opposite.
Come on, he behaved like a guilty man. He lied to his landlady.
Because deep down he believes himself guilty. From the papers, he noticed that he had always been at the scene of the crimes. He must think that he killed and then simply forgot what he had done.
How can you be so sure?
Let us look at his psychological profile.
So
you will understand my point of view.
My question is, where did the stockings actually come
Let us
from?
now try and get our brain cells to work.
Who is purchasing these stockings for real? And then delivering it to them to Cust to have him sell them again. That seems... I mean, it's obviously the temptress, but is she going directly to the shops in London and buying these stockings or not? Or is she having someone else do it? Did she perhaps have the second victim or the first victim buy the stockings for her and then murder them to cover it up? Indeed, let's look at this murder if you please. You'll see the murderer carried out to perfection. And so we have basically an answer from previously of the murderer that he was clever. The Declaration of Miss Marbury. He's always unwell in trains, but he had to sell his stockings around England after respect my engagements, he used to say. He keeps the pencils and sharpens them. These are observations and declarations. Let's see. No questions, just orders to follow. That indicates to me that he isn't clever. Yeah, this indicates he's mediocre. Is cussed, sure of himself. Here we have the declaration by Captain Hastings. A lot of this is from like back at the very beginning of the game, so it's interesting to bring it back. But kind of late to the party to bring it back. I kind of would have liked to see this idea play out on a smaller scale in a tutorial start first chapter. Is he sure of himself? He was very hesitant and shy. Usually door-to-door salesmen are very confident, but he wasn't. Of course, why are we listening to anything Thor Grey has to say, since she's the seductress? Is Cuss a seducer? The man seduced Betty before taking her to the beach where he strangled her. See, that's the question. Did Thor Grey manage to seduce Betty? Or was it Donald Fraser? Or was it someone else working? I mean, it might be that the fourth victim was the seducer and murderer. But that is... And see here, the text is really, really small on this one. This is a lot of it. I guess that's the answer. He doesn't have any charm. Does Cuss like trains? Passenger timetable, maybe the murderer likes trains. Here we have evidence saying he does not like trains. I feel like it should say the trains, but whatever. Is he impulsive? Kill methodically, prepares his crimes, and meticulously. He never forgets to leave his intriguing signature behind. That's cold. Whereas... This is the one where he would get angry and wave his arms about. Which I guess maybe that lines up. Am I supposed to line that up, or did I just make a mistake? Is he generous? I would say no because of this. He's miserly. And they seem to always leave
Cuss'
one
character
clue
is quite the opposite of
unused.
the murderer's.
But if he's a madman, can we really talk about his character?
You know very well that our murderer does not behave like a psychopath. Apart from the signature, there is no ritual repetition in the choice of victims.
Very well, you're right as always.
Like, I could
So
see the
we have
ritual
no
and
confession,
choice
no
of the
culprit,
victims.
no suspects, nothing. And all that after 2
not
months of
existing,
inquiry?
really, but
What should I do?
I'm surprised in
Have
the
faith.
varied
Just give me
method of
24
murders.
hours.
It would make a lot more sense if he had done some kind of ritual, if the murderer had done a ritual to all his victims, and then dumped their bodies in a specific place at a specific time, like carving ABC into their neck or something. Once again, we have one of these outside scenes that is literally nothing. Unless there's an area here I missed outside of Scotland Yard. This says parlors or parkers, so I suspect maybe in the books they talk about going to what I assume is a restaurant across from Scotland Yard. But yeah, you can pretty well tell there's nothing to do here.
To Whitehaven, please.
So we go back to Whitehaven. And there's just no testing.
Cust's arrest is a great success for
As
you,
far
Poirot.
as
It's all clear now,
how
except
much
maybe one
more
or two details.
story is left.
Details. Ah, mon ami. The devil is in the detail, as we say.
I wouldn't be
Excuse me?
surprised if there is another whole hour
Patience,
of gameplay
Hastings.
here.
Everything will be clear once our guests arrive. Best be prepared. Slip a revolver into your pocket before they do.
A revolver? But Poirot, what are you afraid of?
Trust me. It is important you carry a weapon for this meeting. I will lend you mine.
What about telling me what you have in mind?
Surtout pas. You wouldn't be able to play your role. Wait one moment, I will bring you my weapon.
Okay. So that's gonna save. Then we're supposed to bring the revolver to Hastings. And what I want to do is let's go ahead and quit. Since we know quitting just loads out to the main menu. And we can see we're at 93% done right now. We have 431 of 600 ego points. I think it's highly unlikely I'm going to get 169 ego points here. The fact that I'm on a 1 pretty much guarantees that I've made at least one major mistake. I should be at least at a multiple of 10. Let's see, bonus wise, as far as timelines, I've either missed things. Nope, I guess not. We are now being shown the events of Cust in the timeline, so the entire timeline of the murders, once we finish the game, will be replayable, although it is somewhat questionable as to whether you would really want to just watch the full timeline here.
He visits Mrs. Asher's tobacco shop and sells her a pair of stockings. Mrs. Asher is not suspicious.
Interesting. So I guess you could just hit play later on. Seems like we aren't going to have a Dover reconstruction, but maybe these reconstructions will be done a second time, showing who the real murderer is. It does seem like there's going to be a fourth reconstruction, though, of some sort. And let's see. As far as storyline achievements, yep, there really is only one more sequence here for that. And then I've either missed an observation somewhere, or I'm going to get all the observations. I've almost certainly missed the opportunity to make more mistakes. The cleaning tomcat achievement, I think, shows that I missed an opportunity to do something somewhere. Let's see. The incense burner, I have no idea where that would come about, but maybe that's still up for grabs. Let's see. Gandhi mustache. No real telling what that would have been from. Whether that's from doing a puzzle that I missed, or this is from doing a puzzle I missed, or this is from one, or this is from one. These very well may be from doing perfect interviews, which might highlight directly what interviews I would need to jump to if I did have the capability of jumping to things. It is possible you might be able to get a bunch of save files that let you jump to specific spots. We probably will get Black Dragon and Dragon Smoke if I was to guess, but maybe not. That could just be an example of me once again failing to do interviews correctly. And yeah, it would be weird certainly to try and play this game a second time. I would definitely need an achievement guide right in front of me, but it would also be very weird to, from the word go, know the exact reason why the murderer, who I assume is Thor Grey, was doing the murders. At some point there, you kind of need to have some kind of new game plus if you wanted people to play the game a second time. But in modern day and age, you really wouldn't need that. This has been a long enough experience. It definitely could have used some polish in a few places, but I'm not going to walk away from this game saying, oh, it was too short, or oh, it was too linear, even though it was incredibly linear. It works fine as a point-and-click adventure game that is mostly focused around being a mystery game. It works kind of badly as a mystery game trying to be a point-and-click adventure game, but I'm okay with that. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.